This message may have found you for a reason. Maybe today you're wondering why that door had to close. You prayed. You believed. You hoped it would work out. But instead of things opening up, everything seemed to shut down. The opportunity disappeared. The relationship ended. The job didn't work out. The plan you were sure about suddenly fell apart. And now you're left asking a painful question. God, why did this happen? It's easy to feel discouraged in moments like this. Because when doors close, it doesn't just affect our plans, it touches our hearts. You start thinking maybe you weren't good enough. Maybe you missed your chance. Maybe everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. But what if the closed door wasn't a punishment? What if it was protection? What if the very thing you're grieving today is the very thing God saved you from tomorrow? You see, sometimes we pray for open doors. But God, who can see the entire road ahead, knows when that door would lead us somewhere we were never meant to go. And because He loves you too much to let you settle for less, He closes it, not to harm you, but to guide you. The problem is, when we only see the closed door, we assume the story is over. But God doesn't close a door without preparing another one. And here's what many people don't realize. Sometimes the reason a door closes is because something far greater is being prepared behind the scenes. You may feel delayed, but heaven is not delayed. You may feel forgotten, but God never forgets His promises. Right now, while you're wondering why things didn't work out, God is already arranging what will work out. He's aligning the right people, opening the right timing, moving circumstances you cannot see. The door you lost may actually be the reason the right door can appear. Think about a farmer planting seeds. When the farmer plants the seed, he doesn't see results immediately. Days pass, sometimes weeks. Above the ground, it looks like nothing is happening. But underground, something powerful is taking place. Roots are growing, strength is forming, life is developing. And if the farmer judged the harvest by what he saw in the first few days, he might believe nothing was working. But the truth is, the delay was never failure. The delay was preparation. Your life works the same way. Right now you may feel like nothing is moving, but underneath the surface, a God is preparing something you cannot yet see. And the reason some doors close is because the soil of your life is being prepared for something greater, something stronger, something better. You are not behind. You are being positioned. And this is where everything begins to change. Because the door that closed may actually be the greatest act of God's protection in your life. But here's something many people don't understand about closed doors. Sometimes the very door you wanted was the door that would have limited your life. It looked right. It felt right. You prayed about it. You imagined your future through it. And when it didn't happen, it felt like loss. But God can see what we cannot see. He sees the end of the story before the beginning even starts. And because He sees the future clearly, sometimes He stops things that we would have walked into willingly. You see rejection, God sees redirection. You see disappointment, God sees divine protection. Think about how many people look back years later and say something like this: if that opportunity had worked out, I would have never discovered the path I'm on today. Or, if that relationship hadn't ended, I would have stayed in something that was never meant for me. At the time, it felt painful. But later it became clear the closed door wasn't the end. It was the turning point. There's a story many people can relate to. A young man kept applying for jobs after graduating. He had talent, he had skills, he had dreams. But every interview ended the same way. Thank you for your time. We decided to move forward with another candidate. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. And every rejection felt heavier than the last. He began wondering if something was wrong with him, if maybe he wasn't meant for success after all. But what he didn't know was that during that season of rejection, he started developing a small idea. Just something he enjoyed doing, something he began working on quietly while waiting for opportunity. And slowly, that small idea grew. It grew into a business. That business grew into something far bigger than any job he had applied for. Years later, he realized something powerful. If even one of those companies had hired him, he would have never built the life he was meant to live. The door that closed made room for the door that changed everything. And this pattern shows up again and again throughout life. Sometimes God removes you from places that feel safer because your destiny cannot fit there. And this is where the story of Joseph in the Bible becomes so powerful. Joseph had dreams of greatness, dreams that God himself placed inside his heart. But instead of immediate success, Joseph faced betrayal. His own brothers sold him into slavery. He was taken far from home. Then later he was falsely accused and thrown into prison. From the outside, it looked like every door in Joseph's life had slammed shut. Freedom was gone. Opportunity was gone. Hope looked distant. But what Joseph could not see in those moments was that God was positioning him step by step. The palace Joseph would one day lead from required the character he developed in the prison. The leadership he would carry was being built in the hardest seasons of his life. And the doors that closed along the way were actually guiding him toward the door that mattered most. Years later, Joseph rose to become one of the most powerful leaders in Egypt. The very dream God placed in his heart finally came true. And when he looked back at the pain, the betrayal, and the closed doors, he realized something extraordinary. What looked like setbacks were actually setups. What looked like rejection was actually divine direction. And maybe today, you're standing in a moment that feels exactly like that. A door closed, a plan ended, something you believed in didn't work out. But what happened next in Joseph's story is something many people overlook, and it holds a powerful message for your life. What many people overlook about Joseph's story is what happened between the promise and the promotion. There was a long season of waiting, a season where nothing seemed to be changing, a season where the dream felt distant. Joseph had the promise, but he did not yet have the palace. And in that waiting season, it would have been easy for Joseph to believe that his story was over. Day after day, he woke up in a prison cell. No applause, no recognition, no visible progress. Just quiet days that looked exactly like the day before. And sometimes life can feel that way for you too. You keep showing up. You keep believing. You keep praying. But externally, nothing appears to be moving. And the enemy whispers a dangerous lie. You are behind. You missed your chance. Your moment has passed. But here's the truth that changes everything. You are not behind. You are being positioned. There is a difference between being delayed and being prepared. Delay can feel like nothing is happening. Preparation means everything is happening where you cannot see it. God does some of his greatest work behind the scenes. Just like roots growing beneath the soil, just like seeds developing in darkness, just like a sculptor shaping stone before the masterpiece appears, God is forming something inside you during this season. Strength, wisdom, character, faith. Because the doors that are coming in your future require a version of you that is stronger than the version you used to be. That's why some seasons feel quiet. God is preparing you for something your past self could not carry. And this is why you cannot measure your progress only by what you see. Because some of the most powerful progress in your life is invisible. Right now, even if it doesn't feel like it, God is aligning things. He is moving people into place. He is shifting timing. He is arranging circumstances in ways you cannot imagine. Your closed door is not the end of your story. It's the redirection that makes your real story possible. And here is something you need to hear today. God is working behind the scenes. Even when you feel forgotten, you are not forgotten. Even when you feel delayed, your time is not canceled. Even when the door closes, your destiny is not closed. Because when God closes a door, He is not removing your future. He is protecting it. And here's what most people don't realize. Sometimes God closes smaller doors because the door He is preparing is far bigger than what you asked for. You prayed for one opportunity. God saw a greater one. You hoped for one path. God prepared a better one. But if the first door had opened, you might have settled there. And God refuses to let you settle for less than His plan for your life. So when the door closes, it is not proof that God has abandoned you. It may actually be proof that He is guiding you somewhere better. And this is where your mindset must shift. Instead of asking, Why did this happen to me? Begin asking, God, what are you preparing me for? Because the moment that question changes, your perspective begins to change. And when your perspective changes, hope begins to rise again. Sometimes the hardest part about a closed door is not the loss itself. It's the silence that follows. The quiet season where nothing seems to be happening. You prayed, you believed. You stepped forward with faith. But instead of the breakthrough you expected, there was only waiting. And waiting can test your faith more than the storm itself. Because when you're in the storm, at least you can see movement. But when you're in a waiting season, everything feels still. And this is the moment where many people lose hope. They assume the delay means God said no. But often the delay means God is saying, not yet. There's a powerful truth about divine timing. God's timing is rarely early, but it is never late. Sometimes He waits until the moment where everything aligns perfectly. The right people, the right place, the right preparation, the right opportunity, and then suddenly what felt delayed begins moving faster than you imagined. Doors start opening, opportunities appear, connections happen, breakthrough begins to unfold, and people look at your life and say, that happened so quickly. But what they didn't see was the years of preparation before the moment arrived. They didn't see the quiet seasons, the closed doors, the waiting. But those seasons were never wasted. They were the foundation. Think about how many great stories begin with rejection. Authors rejected by publishers. Athletes overlooked by scouts. Entrepreneurs turned down by investors. At the time, the rejection feels final. But often those closed doors redirect them toward the opportunity that truly changes everything. And the same principle applies to your life. What looks like rejection today may become the redirection that leads to your breakthrough. Because God has a way of taking what feels like loss and turning it into something greater than you imagine. That's why you cannot allow a closed door to define your identity. You are not rejected. You are redirected. You are not unlucky. You are being led. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And even if you cannot see the next step yet, God already can. Right now, somewhere beyond what you can see, the right door is forming. The opportunity that fits your life is developing. The people meant to connect with your purpose are moving into position. Your breakthrough is not random. It is being arranged, step by step, moment by moment. And one day you will look back at the door that closed and realize something surprising. If that door had opened, you would have missed the one that changed everything. So today, instead of holding on to disappointment, choose to hold on to faith. Because the same God who closed that door is the God preparing the next one. And when the right door opens, no one will be able to close it. There comes a moment in every difficult season when your faith is tested the most. Not when everything is falling apart, but when things have simply stopped moving, when the door has closed and the next door has not yet appeared. That space in between can feel uncomfortable because it's the place where doubt begins whispering. What if nothing better comes? What if that opportunity was the only one? What if I missed my chance? But those questions are built on a false assumption. They assume your life is controlled by circumstances. But your life is not controlled by circumstances. Your life is guided by God's purpose. And when God is guiding your life, a closed door cannot stop your destiny. It can only redirect it. You see, many people think success is about finding the right door. But in reality, it's about trusting the one who is guiding the doors. Because God is not limited by the opportunities you see. He can create opportunities that did not exist before. He can open paths that no one expected. He can bring connections that change everything. And often the door that leads to your breakthrough is not the door you were originally chasing. That's why disappointment must never become your identity. You are not the person whose plans failed. You are the person whose story is still unfolding. You are not behind. You are being positioned. You are not unlucky. You are being guided. You are not forgotten. You are remembered by the God who sees every detail of your life. And right now, even in this moment, the God is still working behind the scenes. Even when you cannot see it. Even when you cannot feel it. even when the situation hasn't changed yet, because God's work is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. Think about a sunrise. Before the sun appears above the horizon, the sky is still dark. But the darkness does not mean the sun isn't coming. It simply means the moment hasn't arrived yet. And when the sunrise finally appears, everything changes in a matter of minutes. The same thing can happen in your life. You may have experienced a long night, a season where doors kept closing, a season where plans didn't work out, a season where hope felt distant. But just because the night has been long does not mean the sunrise is canceled. Your breakthrough is not canceled. Your opportunity is not canceled. Your purpose is not canceled. God is still writing your story. And the next chapter may be closer than you think. And one day you will look back at this season with a completely different perspective. Right now, it may feel like something was taken from you. An opportunity, a relationship, a plan you believed would work. But time has a powerful way of revealing what God was doing all along. Because sometimes the greatest blessings in your life begin with a door that had to close. You didn't understand it then. It felt confusing. It felt unfair. It felt painful. But later you realized something extraordinary. That closed door protected you from something that wasn't right. Or it redirected you toward something far greater than what you imagined. Many people discover this truth years later. They look back and say, if that door had opened, I would have never met the people who changed my life. If that door had opened, I would have never discovered my true purpose. If that door had opened, I would have settled for something smaller. And suddenly what once looked like loss becomes one of the greatest turning points in their story. Because God never removes something without having a reason. Sometimes He removes distractions. Sometimes He removes limitations. Sometimes He removes paths that would have led you away from your destiny. And when He does, He replaces them with something better. That's why faith means trusting God even when the picture is incomplete, even when the next step is unclear, even when the door you hoped for did not open. Because God is not finished with your story. Your future is still unfolding. Your opportunity is still being prepared. Your breakthrough is still on the way. The door that closed did not cancel your purpose. It redirected it. It refined it. It positioned you for something greater. And the beautiful thing about God's plan is that when the right door finally opens, no rejection can stop it. No delay can prevent it. No obstacle can block it. Because what God has prepared for your life cannot be taken away by circumstances. It will arrive at the right time, in the right way, with the right people. And when that moment comes, you will understand why the other doors had to close. Until then, keep believing, keep trusting, keep moving forward with faith. Because the same God who closed that door is the God preparing the next one. And the next door may be the one that changes everything.